Then first thing you're going to do is take your dust seal, spring side out, and put that on the fork tube. Use a circular motion to put it down over the top. With the oil seal, you want to use a little bit of Maxima Blue waterproof grease. Lube up the inside of the seal real good and put a little dab on the outside of it, and that'll help you when you go to take it apart next time. Again, put the seal on the tube in a swirling motion. The backer ring I like to put in with the rounded side towards the seal. Then your bushings, you want to inspect the inside of the bushing. You'll notice that the Teflon is worn through, and you can see the material of the bushing through it. This bushing needs to be replaced. Also, the outer is a wear indicator. Compared to the new bushing, you can see how worn it is. Another indication that it needs to be replaced. So drop the guide bushing down. The piston bushing also has Teflon on it, but on the outside. And you'll notice little flecks of aluminum on this one. And some marking. The outside of it looks nice. The Teflon is in pretty good shape. However, you'll notice that the inside of the piston bushing is all silver. And the new piston bushing is all bronze colored. This also is a wear indicator, like the guide bushing, which indicates that this bushing needs to be replaced. So now we've got a new dust seal, new oil seal, new guide bushing, new piston bushing. Fork's ready to assemble. Slide the two tubes together. The seal driver. Be sure to keep your hands away from this area. If you catch your finger with this, no bueno. And install your clip. Gently tap it in with the seal driver. A little bit of grease on here. Go ahead and push the dust seal up into the fork tube. Now your outer tube's ready to go together with the rest of the fork. Alright, now we're ready to reassemble our front fork. Put a little bit of grease on the threads on the damping cartridge. You'll see some marks on here. Whoever previously did these forks used a metal H-tool. It'll cause some cuts. So I've polished those off, the flat file. So we'll grease this up. Make sure the rod's in good condition. There's no wear. The nut's tight. Piston doesn't move. It's normal for the piston band to slide around on here and have a little bit of play in here, and that's great. Just exactly the way it was set up from the factory. Piston band's nice and clean, fits proper. So we're going to drop this down inside here. Just gently drop that down in there. With a 10mm T-handle, put it on the end of the nut and lightly wiggle that down in there. Shouldn't have to put really any pressure on it at all, just a little bit, just to wiggle it, and the rod will drop down. When you put the jam nut on, you'll notice that it's got some flats on it, and it's counterbored, and it's got threads. The threads go up, and the counterbore goes down. The wrench flats go towards the top. You want to spin this on until it stops, exposing most of the threads where the rebound adjuster will screw onto it. Like this. We're going to flip the cartridge over, fill it with KYB M01 or MX5. We're going to fill it just about to these holes. Put your pointer finger and your thumb over the holes. Grab your fluid. Go ahead and pour that in there. Fill it up just about to the holes. And slowly push the rod up. And tap on it with the plastic part of the screwdriver to get the air bubbles out. And slowly pull it back down. If you pull this too hard, it will make a fountain out the top. And the goal here is to get all the air out of the inner cartridge. KYB fluid drops the air out really fast. You can look down inside and see there's no air bubbles coming up, and we're full of oil to about here. You want to take the base valve assembly, drop it down in here, and with the holes pointing towards the ratio right, push it in with your fingers, and then slowly push up on the rod. That'll get some of the extra oil out of the cartridge, and also push the air up past the base valve assembly. Then we'll put this back in the vise, and with your inner cap wrench and 17 socket, push this down and tighten it back up. Again, you just want to gently clamp this in the vise and use the wrenches to do your tightening. Always squeeze your wrenches together for the best results. Set your compression adjuster to spec. Turn this until it lightly stops. You don't want to force it once it stops. Then you'll notice it's got this little bit of movement between where it stops and a click. So that's 0. Our setting today on this fork is 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 clicks. Now we want to purge the inner chamber. Put a finger over one of the holes. Put your ratio right cup here and push down with the fork being vertical and get that extra oil out of there. Fork's all the way collapsed. And again, turn the cartridge sideways and completely compress it. Drain all the extra oil into your cup. Now we're ready for the spring perch. You also want to examine the spring perch for wear. This, you can see there's a little bit of damage here to the Teflon, but other than that, one spot it's in real good shape. So we'll go ahead and use that. Slide that down. And always measure your fork spring. Make sure it's the manufacturer's length or per the specification on your TBT spec sheet. This fork spring is supposed to be 453 millimeters long, which it is. So we're ready to install that. If your fork spring is short, you can use a spacer like this on the end. It needs to be the same inside diameter and same outside diameter as your spring, and you always want to put it on this end of the spring so that it's captured by the oil lock in the bottom of the fork. If you put the spacer here, it's possible for this to move around and cause damage to the inside of the fork. So then you can slide the rebound rod in. We'll grab the outer fork tube assemblies. We'll install that. Your plastic H tool to hold the cartridge up so we can get the rebound adjuster bolted back on there. Now it's important when you tighten these up to not over tighten them, not under tighten them. If you're unsure, check your owner's manual for a torque spec. Remove the H tool, put it back in the vise, and the same here. Tighten this down in. Tighten it up. Set your rebound adjuster. Turn it all the way in until it lightly stops, and then back it out. To your recommended setting. Flip the fork tube right side up again. Give it a push, make sure everything's working properly. Feels right, it's not bound up. Make sure that there is enough spring preload that there's not a dead spot at the beginning of it. Then take your oil beaker, fill it to your recommended oil amount. These forks were using 375 cc's of oil on the outer chamber. Again, KYB, MO1, or MX5. Tip the fork a little bit to the side. Dump all the oil in there. Vise. Top. And there you have a practically brand new fork.